Please pray with me. Lord, take me where you want me to go. Let me meet who you want me to meet. Tell me what you want me to say, and please keep me out of your way. Amen. Please be seated. You know, I've spoken quite a few times about the definition of the word parable. It describes a wide range of indirect communications, and they can be somewhat confusing, so I want to continue to drive home this definition. It includes all figures of speech, proverbs, riddles, as I pointed out just a few weeks ago, illustrations, lessons, allegories, really almost any kind of metaphorical speech would fall under the umbrella of a parable. But at its simplest, the parable is a metaphor or a simile drawn from nature, our common life, something very familiar, arresting the hearer by its vividness or strangeness, and leaving the mind in sufficient doubt about its precise application to tease people then and now into active thought. This form of speech was by far Jesus' favorite to use when teaching people. Jesus' parables are not simple black and white messages delivering a pre-packaged meaning for all time. Instead, they're designed to challenge us to look anew each time we read or hear them and to respond accordingly. Parables being the open-ended narrative metaphors that they are, they generate new meaning for us at different stages of our lives. We see things differently as we age, don't we? I don't know about you, but for me, perspective has come with bumps, bruises, and more than a few scars, some visible and some not. Assuming that we all come here today with a little additional perspective and a desire for new insights, let's dive into this parable about the judge and this very persistent widow and see how this challenges us today. Now, widows in Jesus' day were a very vulnerable lot. People of Jesus' time would have known instantly what Jesus was trying to convey about the plight of a widow. There were no pensions. There was no Social Security. And most important of all, there was no right of inheritance for a woman. That's right. When their husbands died, all their property was given over to the next closest male family member. If their family did not care for them, and that often happened, or if they had no close family members, they were destitute, begging on the streets or worse, consigned to a life of prostitution. Widows would have been dependent on judges for any fairness or protection that they would receive in Jesus' society. Now, we don't know exactly what this widow's grievance was. Jesus never mentions it in the parable. But she has an opponent. Perhaps someone trying to take something away from her that she desperately needed. But we can assume one thing. Whatever it was meant life and death to this widow. The judge says that he will grant her justice, but like other parables, he's doing the right thing for the wrong reasons. This is the surprising thing about this parable, this twist that causes us to stop and wonder. The judge who doesn't fear God, Jesus says that very clearly, doesn't fear God or honestly respect anyone. He has a huge ego, no doubt, and thinks he knows everything. But he does the right thing by this one widow. He doesn't do it for justice. He doesn't do it because he thinks she's right. He only does it because he's being hounded. It's inconvenient for him. And he's sick and tired of seeing her before him every single day. Now, while I believe the thrust of Jesus' original parable may have focused on the plight of this marginalized woman, Luke's interpretation emphasizes for us the importance of persistence, of prayer. Persistence is the key word. Jesus says, I ask you, if an unjust judge responds not on the basis of justice and compassion, but merely on persistence, how much more will the just and loving God who created you respond to those who appeal to him? And it's that word persistence that jumps off of the page to me today. It is important to pray to God. It is important to let him know our concerns and our desires. You've got to know that he already knows what those are. But God wants to hear from us nonetheless. The parents of adult children in this room, do you know what your children need in life? Probably so. But when they call you and share that with you, it feels good to be asked the question nonetheless. I think that's just a tiny little bit of how God feels when we call on him. But like the widow in this story, be persistent, folks. Don't expect an answer in your time. Expect it in God's. Share your desires, but don't treat God like a short order cook, specifying exactly what you want, how you want it, and when. Don't tell God that it must be this way or that. Don't put God in a box. Open your imagination. God knows what's best for you and me. Share your concerns and your desires indeed, but end the prayer with 4 incredibly important words. And I will tell you that I was probably 40 before I started doing this, but it changed my life. Sharing my desires and my concerns and ending the prayer with, Thy will be done. 4 simple but really, really scary words. Thy will be done. And then go a step further. Mean it when you say it. Remember, faith requires endurance for the long haul, folks. This isn't a place with a destination. It's a journey that goes on and on and on until we return to our heavenly home. Persist in your prayers. Literally never give up, just like the widow in today's gospel. And remember, folks, things are in God's times, not ours. Amen.